17 gigabytes is enough. It's going to be a shorter stream today, so hang out. Probably just a little north of an hour, kind of just hitting the I gotta stream today because I'm trying to stream every day in April tick. So maybe we'll get lucky and get a really good call, but I don't usually go live while Dean Withers is live because, obviously. But I just got home from work. I had a long work day, and I got some plans tonight. So Goy Rage US has requested to join. Off to a great start. Dude, with a username like that, I'm like excited to talk to you. But please don't break the TikTok TOS because I can't talk to you if you break the TikTok TOS. So yeah, I assume you're a Trump supporter. We'll get to that. But first of all, after I accept you the call, I am going to have to ask, are you 18 years or older? How old are you?
18.
Whoa, sorry for the echo, everybody, if you heard that. I get this turned down. Sorry, I don't have my sound mix. You're 18 years old?
18, slime dog.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Shit, cuh.
Is this a serious? Anything at all? Anything, you know?
I kind of want to talk about Trump a bit, kid.
Okay.
So
yeah, drop the bit. Like we can talk about Trump, but I need you to drop the bit because this is really not.
Okay,
like,
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
No. Honestly, I don't even mind. I'm good at this, and I know that I'm going to lose my viewership if you keep up the bit.
Do you drink Soylent? Do you drink Soylent?
Oh, dude,
that's just like literally my only question.
I wish I could afford it. If I didn't have to eat, if I just had to drink.
You kind of look like my profile picture a bit.
Yeah, dude. If I just had to drink some green goo and that solved my nutrition for the day, I would love that. I hate dealing with food, but it's kind of expensive. I've looked into making my own kind of like meal replacement shakes, but it's hard to do right. But yeah,
you should go eat raw meat.
No raw meat, lots of rice and chicken. I don't imagine this is going to be a serious conversation about politics, though. Do you have anything?
Go eat some raw meat.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Niggers.
Okay. There we go. Yep. All right. Again, it's like it can be fun, and then the slurs. It's like, all right, we can laugh at him, not with him. T-Bone Steak has joined the call. Let's request, or he has joined the request queue. Let's talk to T-Bone Steak. Same thing. Don't break the TikTok TOS like that guy did by saying a slur. I am going to check if you're a Trump supporter after I ask, how old are you?
35.
I believe you. Support Trump?
I do.
Okay. Why? Why would you do that?
Why not?
Because he's a rapist?
Who did he rape?
Numerous people, I would suspect, but certainly E Jean Carroll.
And your proof is where?
It was litigated on in court.
How much time did he serve?
Yeah, unfortunately, in our legal system, being adjudicated as a rapist doesn't guarantee prison time, which is a terrible shame. But as a matter of fact, that has nothing to do with my claim.
No, it does serve time. If you commit a violent act of that, you should.
That's false. Unfortunately, there are numerous ways that you can escape prison time. For example, the particular crime that he committed against E Jean Carroll was at the time not defined as rape, which is frustrating. They've fixed that since then. Also, the statute of limitations on it had expired, and because of that, even if he had been, there was no mechanism for her to find him criminally liable and have him go to prison. So, do you think that if somebody escapes prosecution because of the statute of limitations, that makes them a person who didn't commit that crime?
It's funny when this happens, when this is brought up, always on the statute of limitations. Let's get him when he's now in power, but let's not.
I'd like you to answer my question. Do you think that if somebody escapes prosecution because they elapsed the statute of limitations before they were prosecuted, that makes them a person who didn't therefore commit that crime?
Well, there's no proof.
That's not an answer to my question. My question is, if I robbed a bank and, for example, they didn't catch me and there was a statute of limitation on bank robbing and I escaped prosecution and then after the statute of limitations it came out, obviously here's a ton of evidence that he did it. Maybe the family that owned the bank actually sued me in civil court for doing it and I was found guilty of that, and then they announced publicly that I'd robbed the bank and I said, no, they didn't catch me because of the statute of limitations, and then a judge said, yeah, but you did rob them. It was litigated on in court. Do you think that version of me is not a bank robber?
Still a bank robber.
Sorry, say that again. You broke up.
You did rob the bank like you said you did.
Right. Okay, so then by that reasoning, Trump did in fact rape E Jean Carroll.
There's no proof.
If there wasn't proof, he wouldn't have been found guilty in court, which is actually why the E Jean Carroll case is my least favorite example, because it's actually the one where the courts handled it. It's public information. You can go look up the court documents yourself. I don't need to sit here and explain it to you. There are a lot of cases that didn't make it to court where I do have to sit here and explain it to you. That's not really one of them. And I don't know. What more do you need? He was found guilty. Multiple judges have ruled on the fact that the thing that he was found guilty of, in the colloquial sense, was in fact a rape. New York has changed their law to reclassify that sort sort of thing as rape because it was so scandalous that it wasn't defined as rape at the time. So if that's your burden of proof, I really have to ask, what on earth would convince you? Would you need to physically witness Donald Trump raping a woman to believe that he was doing it? Or would you just assume that she was pretending and she actually liked it?
Don't go back in a man's what they did 35 years ago. That's not my business.
Yeah, it is. He's the president, and he's a rapist. That's your business. That's all of our business.
Well,
he's a public figure. His private life isn't private anymore. He's the president. It's all of our business.
Well, he'll still be the president for the next few years, so
Personally, I doubt it. I don't think that that's the likely outcome. I think there's a couple ways he could stop being president, and I think that those outcomes are more likely than him not being president. Are you driving a car right now?
Yep.
Yeah, TikTok TOS. He has to go. Please call back in another time. And man, talk to me about something other than the E Jean Carroll case. I talk about it so darn much. Go through it all the time. How's everybody doing? Get double tapping on the phone screen. 100 people here and not one new follower. My goodness, have I captured my audience, or are you guys a bunch of people who are over here from Twitter because you saw I had a brush with Savannah Hernandez from Turning Point USA? That's a whole other thing. Maybe we'll talk about that today. I'm hoping somebody will come in and talk about it. Look at that. I've actually already got people in the queue. We're going to talk to Modest Catho. I assume that's Catholic? Modest Catholic? We shall see. Once again, please obey the TikTok terms of service so I don't have to kick you. Please be a Trump supporter and tell me first, how old are you?
Hello, I'm 18. How are you doing today?
I'm gonna believe you, but if I find myself skeptical that you're 18, I might start asking some "is this guy 18-year-old" type questions.
Wait, am I 18? Wait, then I'm underage, or what are you talking about?
What is your age? How old are you?
I'm 18.
Okay, as long as because you have to be 18 or older to talk to me on this live for two reasons. One, TikTok requires it, and I also don't want to spend my time talking to children on the internet. That's what the Republicans like doing. I'll get a cheeky dig in. But I'm gonna trust that you're 18. I'm gonna ask you one more thing, which is to whatever noisiness is going on. I don't know if you're eating a bag of chips or something. That's got to go. It's real bad for the live. You've called in, and I want to talk to you. Tell me what you think about Trump.
Well, I am a Republican, but I'm not a big fan of Trump. Probably not a fan at all, actually.
Okay. Did you vote? Well, you haven't voted yet because you're 18. If the election was reheld today, would you vote for him?
No, but I also wouldn't have voted for Kamala.
So you wouldn't have voted at all?
No, I would have voted third party.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna skip because I gotta talk to Trump supporters. That's what I'm here to do. I'll take a moment to read the chat before I bring Joshua up. Host is 17 years old. Dude, I'm flattered. My ass is 30. Ha! Eat your veggies, kids. Anyway, and brush your teeth more than I have in my life. Gotten better about that recently. Anyway, let's see. Who do we have? Elvis Trump. Love you, dude. Always happy to see you in the chat. I got to keep an eye on the chat today. I don't think any of my mods have showed up yet. This isn't my normal streaming time. Normally I stream in the morning. Remember Biden tripping upstairs? Way bigger a deal than President, touching kids, right? Like that's we're gonna talk about Biden, right? And that's on this call about Trump. We're gonna talk about Biden, who didn't run in the last presidential election, isn't president, is 80 years old, is obviously senile, gave his entire life to serving our country as a public servant, and is like probably trying to be retired and hang out with his kids for the last couple years he's got left. Yeah, we're gonna talk about him, right? We're not gonna talk about the commander-in-chief, who's a person who's been adjudicated of sex crimes and is himself a convicted felon. We should definitely talk about Biden, right? Epstein loves Eric Swalwell. Maybe Eric Swalwell sounds like he did some bad stuff. That happens. And Trump is a track star. I don't actually get the reference. Lauren says that she doesn't think that Biden is senile. I'm not one of those people on the left that's going to come out and say that Biden was totally functioning by the end of his only term as president. He wasn't. There's a video of him in every debate for the political elections for the last 20 years, because either as a candidate or a running mate, he was involved in every single presidential election for 24 years running or something crazy like that. And somebody did a supercut of all of his debate performances, and you can just see the decline. That dude used to be sharp and quick and a real threat to somebody in a conversation. And I'll say it out loud in front of the internet. He lost that debate against Trump. Trump clowned on him. It was a tragedy. Anyway, we're going to talk to Joshua L. Joshua L., please don't violate the TikTok terms of service. Please be a Trump supporter and start by telling me your age. How old are you?
Well, what was that last part? I didn't hear you.
First question I always ask is, how old are you?
Oh, I'm 32.
I believe you. Do you like Trump as a president?
No, yeah, don't mind him.
You don't mind him. Okay. Are you aware of the crimes he's committed? Are you aware of any of the crimes he's committed? Because he's committed a lot of crimes.
What crimes?
Well, for example, a jury found him guilty of sexually abusing E Jean Carroll, which is a crime that we've actually changed the definition.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, okay, so you don't believe the court? I'm just gonna not even try on that. Got it. Convicted.
Yeah, might as well not.
Not convicted because it was civil, not criminal. But he was found liable for sexually abusing somebody. You just don't believe it because why? You assume the judge is liberal or something like that?
Oh, you want to talk about this? No, because
I've seen really
E Jean Carroll's other accusations, especially with the CEO of CBS, basically saying the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. In the same year time frame, she didn't even know which year. Okay,
so you don't.
Trump allegedly sexually abused
but the jury found her guilty, so you just don't believe that the jury had it right.
I mean, for defamation, the jury instructions were basically that. So
okay, yeah, I spent so much time on the E Jean Carroll thing. I am all right. I'm happy to take your position and agree to disagree on it because I spend so much time talking about E Jean Carroll. How do you feel about his 34 felony convictions for fraud? By the way,
I also don't care.
Why don't you care that the president is a fraudster?
Well, so first off, they shouldn't have been felonies. They should have been misdemeanors. The jury instructions for that was if they agree that Trump could have done crimes with this, more crimes for that to make it a felony. Mm-hmm. And that's just complete bullshit. So okay. I also don't care.
No. So I'll explain that to you. So there are certain illegal things.
You don't need to explain it to me.
I do. This is a live show where I explain things to people, and you called in for that to happen. So you can either sit through it or not. That's your choice. But I am going to, whether I explain it to you or my audience, it is going to get explained next. That's what's happening. So you're either along for the ride or you don't. The runaway button is right in front of you if you need it. Anyway, so there are certain crimes that a person can commit that will the charge will actually be elevated if that crime is done in furtherance of another crime. For example, if I purchase a firearm in a way that's illegal, maybe I'm disqualified from owning them because I'm a felon. I don't happen to be. But imagine I was, something like that. It's a crime for me to acquire a firearm, but if I do it with the intention of harming somebody with it, maybe I don't want it for self-defense. Maybe I specifically want to go do something terrible with it. The type of crime that is becomes worse. And this is an important detail. I really want you to listen to the next thing that I'm saying. It becomes a worse crime whether or not I succeed at the crime I was going to commit. So I don't actually need to go and murder the guy for it to have become an elevated crime for me to commit the smaller crime of acquiring a firearm illegally if my intention was to do that. So I assume your line of reasoning is coming from the fact that Trump wasn't actually charged for a number of the crimes that the falsification of business records for which he was charged didn't actually get charged. He tried to defraud the bank of some money by getting a bigger loan than he was due. They detected that his paperwork was fraudulent, so he failed. He attempted to do that crime, but he failed at it. But he still falsified those business records in furtherance of that attempted crime. And that, according to the letter of the law, because we do live in a country of law and order, do we not? According to the letter of the law, that makes that crime a felony instead of a misdemeanor. And something like that, because all the charges weren't all exactly the same, something like that happened 34 times, the court found. Why are you okay with that?
Okay, so again, like I said, the jury instructions for that didn't need any evidence that he was going to be doing any crimes, just that he might do those crimes. I think that's bullshit, like I already said. And that's why I also said you didn't have to explain this at all, because we're just going to be at the same exact
I didn't have to go live today. I chose to. This is a free country.
I'm just saying, man, like that was completely pointless to do. But whatever, man. So like I said, I don't care. And also I don't even think he technically has those 34 convictions anymore. So
he did. He's a convicted felon. He's still a felon.
Wasn't it in an appeals court? And then
yeah, he appeals everything to the end, but yeah. No, he is a convicted felon. That is a fact.
Okay, for sure. Well, yeah, that's your own issue there, my guy. I don't care.
Okay, you don't care that the president is a felon?
I don't think he was ever officially convicted, but
yes,
yeah,
he
no,
was. Yes,
I don't care.
Okay.
I think the left wanted him to be a convicted felon, to try to push that he's a convicted felon and make him not a president, which honestly is kind of fascist.
Whoa! A Fox News article from Trump being found guilty on
I don't watch Fox.
Yeah, well, I choose right leading. Do I need to allow ads? I already do.
I don't care. I don't understand where you're missing the point of me not caring.
Well, okay, again, I choose. I mean, I could have chosen any media outlet, but I like choosing Fox News because people tend not to trust it when I show every other.
Like I said, The juror instructions were complete bullshit. They should have never been felonies. They never had to have any evidence.
But
that
do
he
you
was
admit
actually
that they
gonna commit
were
the crimes.
felonies? Because you keep saying that Trump isn't actually a felon, but he is.
Sure, I'll admit that they were marked down as felonies. Yeah, that's not what I'm arguing.
The chat
Can you
saying,
keep track of our conversation? Because
I sure can. I sure can. I can keep track of it just fine. So you don't care that he's a felon. You don't care that he raped a woman.
I'm supposed to care. Well, I don't think he raped a woman.
Yeah, because you don't believe the court if it finds something that you disagree with. But yeah, I think that you should care if the president is found civilly liable for sexual abuse. I think that you should care if the president is found guilty of 34 crimes.
Not from a liar.
Okay.
She was a liar.
Okay, yeah. Look. Let's talk about those 34 felony counts a little bit more because you can disagree about it.
Why do you keep going it? We don't give a shit, man. Nobody cares.
Right. All right. And that's really what I want to understand. That's like the purpose of the live is to get in your head and understand why that's not a big deal to you. Because we can sit here and talk about loopholes and exactly how the law works and exactly how these crimes are elevated. But the fact of the matter is that he did something that is dishonest and illegal to do with money, which is, for example, the sort of thing that the right is using right now to go after liberal states. We hear a lot about Somali fraud from a president who is himself a convicted fraudster. So I'm just trying to square that. How do you feel about Somali fraud, Somali daycare fraud?
I also don't give a shit.
Do you give a shit about anything at all?
I mean, dude, you're trying to get me to care about 34 felonies in a kangaroo court. Like, you think we honestly give a shit? Guess what? He's your president. He'll be your president for the next 2 years. You coming up here and going like, oh, Donald Trump has 34 felonies isn't going to change anybody that already voted for the guy. Like, he's your president until 2028. You can.
I actually started doing these. I actually started. No, I want to address something that you just said about me not being able to change anybody's minds. And maybe I'm just talking to my own audience here. But the reason I started doing these debate lives is because I found myself to be unusually good at convincing real people in my real life that what's going on.
Well, you're not doing that great at the moment.
Doing a fantastic job. My metrics on both TikTok and Instagram really disagree with you on that. If you want me to flex and show some numbers,
fantastic, man.
Congratulations. But what I'm saying is that I started
about you said that he was a pedophile. I just want to jump down your throat on that one.
Yeah, I think that the only plausible explanation for the way that he's behaving about the Epstein files is to suggest that he's implicated in them in a way that is that would show him as guilty of crimes against children. But we just don't know what those things are because he's illegally continued to withhold.
So wait a minute, you're
Epstein
calling somebody a pedophile without
public.
any evidence?
I think that evidence. I think that hiding all of the evidence of who are the wealthy and powerful pedophiles in this country. When you are a wealthy and powerful person who is friends with the king of those pedophiles, the person for whom that library of evidence is named, Jeffrey Epstein, I think that is really strong circumstantial evidence that you are a pedophile. And if we saw that evidence, it wouldn't be circumstantial. The law requires us to see that evidence because this is such a unique situation with so much public interest around it. So many people like myself think it's important for that evidence to come out. The fact that he is acting to hide that evidence is, to me, yes, very strong evidence that he has done bad things to children.
Okay, wait a minute. So he's a pedophile because you say he is, you have zero evidence about it, and you only cared about the Epstein files this last year, I would assume, or 2 years. And now you are basically saying because
I've been following the Epstein case for many years.
But just because we haven't released the whole entirety of the Epstein files means that he's somehow complicit, even though he's the only president to actually start the releasing of the Epstein files. That's kind of wild. And I'm sure you know what the Epstein files are, correct? Like, it's a 20-year-old investigation that was supposed to be presented to the DA to convict Jeffrey Epstein of child sex crimes, right?
Yeah, it's every court document.
Okay, so you already know that the FBI and the DOJ over the last 2 decades have gone through all of these files. The only allegations with Trump in them at the moment is a 2019 anonymous tip line.
That's false. There's numerous accusations that have become public in the release of the Epstein files.
Which ones?
Notably, the case of him giving oral to a girl who he then hit and brought her out of the room. And that particular
the girl was giving oral to him, and then she bit his penis, right?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, for sure. So 1983 is when she said that was happening. The FBI actually didn't find her credible against Donald Trump, by the way. She did find her.
Dan Goldman has shown evidence to the contrary of what you just said on the House floor. Yes, he has. He's shown that the FBI pitched that accusation to prosecutors, which is an indication that they found it credible.
No, that's not how that works. So the FBI and the
you're
DOJ...
You're just lying about a thing that happened.
No,
you can go to Dan Goldman's YouTube channel and find the video of him doing that. It was a month ago.
4 different times and did not find her credible against Donald Trump. Did find her credible enough against Jeffrey Epstein.
I actually, because I am tracking the conversation, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you and force... I'm going to keep talking until you stop talking because I don't like using the mute button. So when you're done talking, I'm going to go back to something that you said a second ago. I'm capable of talking
out a little bit.
No, I'm just going to talk over you because I don't like using the mute button because people on here don't like it when people use the mute button. Thank you for shutting up.
I mean, dude, if you're literally just going to crash out when I'm giving you...
I'm going to go back to something you said a second ago. No, I'm going to go back to something you said a second ago. You were talking about what the Epstein files are and exactly what credible evidence in them is. So what I want to ask you is a question that I ask a lot of people when they bring up that line of reasoning, which is that do you think that nobody is guilty of being involved in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring except for Ghislaine Maxwell, the only other person convicted? Do you think that the correct number of guilty parties in the Epstein files is in fact 0 if we don't count Epstein and Maxwell?
Oh, yeah, I have no idea, man.
Okay.
I think there's ongoing investigations that the DOJ is not allowed to talk about. I think certain redactions are about people that are still getting...
It's been too long.
It's been too long.
It has been too long, yeah.
It's been too long. Okay, so it's been too long for you to give a shit about it. Yeah.
It's not that it's been too long.
That doesn't mean that there were people that are still currently being investigated because of allegations that were presented in the Epstein files.
I argue that it has been.
It doesn't mean that.
No, it has been too long. If that's the case, then it's a cold case, and the public needs to see the evidence so we can get some justice, which is generally the best thing that can happen for cold cases. Because Jeffrey Epstein, I will remind you, has been dead for 7 years.
Wait a minute. So you're saying right now that the Epstein files is essentially a nothing burger. The DOJ and the FBI has already gone over it. And the things that you are accusing Donald Trump obviously aren't true, because if they were, he would be convicted.
No, what I'm saying is that it is so obviously not a nothing burger, and there so obviously are many other guilty parties in the Epstein files that the public hasn't been shown, that there's ridiculous amounts of evidence. Like, if we're not talking about Trump...
How is there ridiculous amount of evidence? Because you haven't seen it.
Yes, I have. I don't know how much you've looked at the Epstein files, but there is an enormous amount of evidence. There are
against who?
Okay, well, that's the problem. Their names are redacted. We don't know why. The public doesn't know why. But
we don't know why. The DOJ is saying that there might be ongoing investigations, or it's literally because the people that were accusing these people
even if I accept your ongoing
the attorneys of these people,
even if I accept your ongoing investigations argument, the question, are there more guilty parties in the Epstein files, still has the answer yes, if it's because of ongoing investigations. Is that right? Do you recognize that?
Neither of us would be able to know.
I'm asking you if you recognize.
I just gave you an honest question.
No. I'm not asking you to have privileged knowledge about the Epstein files. You didn't understand my question. You didn't understand my question. You didn't understand my question. You are going to get trapped in a corner because that's what happens to people who call into my show.
You crashed out.
You didn't understand my question.
Number 4.
I talked over you until we got back, dude. I don't like using the mute button, and this is the way I control the conversation. Pivoting back to the thing we were talking about. I'm doing great. Chat, check in with the guest. How does the chat think I'm doing? Okay, so I'm going to go back and ask my question.
Check with your chat. Okay, for sure, dude.
Yeah. They're the audience. They're the people I'm doing this for.
This is like the calmest chat I've ever seen in my life, by the way.
Yeah, I keep things under control over here. So I want to ask you the question that you didn't understand again, and I just want to make sure that you understand the question. Because all
I'm hearing from you is you have zero proof that Donald Trump's a pedophile, and you'd rather just run around saying
no, I'm going to go back to my line of reasoning and ask you the question again.
Viewers,
I consider it running if you refuse. Thank you for the hard hands. I consider it running if you refuse to answer my question. Are you? Oh, was it? Okay, good for you. I was gonna ask you my question again. Are you gonna let me ask the question again? Because it's the only next thing that happens in this conversation.
I'll probably have the same exact answer that you're just refusing to understand.
You responded.
Thank you, Kenzie.
Okay, so you responded. By the way, I can actually say thank you too, because I get a percentage of the stuff from that because I'm the host of the live.
Okay, who cares? Just talk.
I care. Anyway, so the question was, because you brought up the possibility of ongoing investigations. The question I specifically asked you doesn't require you to have any privileged knowledge about what's in the Epstein files. I'm not asking you about any particular case. I'm not asking you about any particular individual. I'm asking you about a hypothetical situation where, as you suggested, there are ongoing investigations of individuals that are implicated in the Epstein files. And I said that if that is true, then in that case where that's true, what I said about the fact that there being people in the Epstein files who are guilty who have not yet been convicted, the answer would then, in that situation, be yes, right?
Dude, what? Simplify that. I was not paying attention.
I know it's hard. So I'll slow it down. If there are ongoing investigations of guilty parties in the Epstein files, that would then suggest that there are guilty parties other than Maxwell and Epstein in the Epstein files. Yes? Do you recognize that?
Okay, no, here's my answer. Again, for the third time, I don't know if you need to put on your listening cap over here, but we have no idea. I can neither confirm nor deny. I can't say yes or
I'm not asking you to have any privileged knowledge. I'm asking you a hypothetical.
You're giving a hypothetical of something, but I'm not going to play off hypotheticals.
Not being able to track a hypothetical is a sign of unintelligence.
Isn't a pedophile. You know it. I know it, and you just want everybody to think it. Why? Why do you want our president to have diddled kids?
It's not that
What's wrong with you guys?
It's not that I want him to have done that. It's that I want him to be held accountable if he did that. Now, I want to ask my question again because you still haven't answered
do it. So
I'm not going to move on until you. I'm not going to move on until you recognize that you understand the question and answer it. So I'm going to ask it again. If there are guilty parties in the Epstein files that are still being investigated, that is an indication that there are.
We do not know. I cannot give you a yes or no answer to this question because we do not know. I'm not going to work on hypotheticals.
Yeah. You do understand that not being able to track a hypothetical is legitimately a sign of unintelligence. It's an indication.
You can call me unintelligent all day long. I'm not going to play this hypothetical bullshit game with you when we're literally talking about.
If you think hypotheticals are bullshit, it's an indication that you lack critical reasoning. Why is a hypothetical so difficult for you?
You literally just want President Trump to have diddled kids, and I think it's disgusting.
I'm pretty sure that he did, and I want there to be accountability for people who diddled kids.
So you're pretty sure he did based off of what evidence?
I've laid some of that out, but you've refused to answer my question, and I'm not going to let it go. You have to demonstrate to me that you understand the question.
You have laid out zero evidence.
Okay, so once again, I'm going to ask you the question. The question is, if there are guilty parties in the Epstein files who are not
I'm not answering your question, sir.
Oh, okay. So is the call over then? Are we done?
Okay, so you wanted to pivot. Ask the same question 4 times. I've already told you that I'm not going to answer a hypothetical, and you have yet to prove that Donald Trump is a pedophile. Yeah, I think we can be done because you're not going to concede. And unfortunately for you, I'm right. So it's probably bad optics to you. So we can call it a day. Have a good one.
Are you going to hit the run button instead of answering my question?
I've already answered your question.
No, you haven't.
I mean, we can sit here in awkward silence if you want.
No, you've demonstrated that you're not able to track a hypothetical, which is, I think, a pretty solid W for the host of this live. But I will ask the question again. The question is, if there are guilty parties in the Epstein files who have not been released because they are still being investigated, that means that there are then guilty parties in the Epstein files. Do you recognize that that's an obvious truth? Because you're the one who said that there's ongoing investigation.
You can't use the word hypothetical and then say obvious truth. It doesn't work like that. What's the definition of a hypothetical, buddy?
Hypothetically, if it was raining, then there'd be water falling from the sky, correct?
Hypothetically, if it was raining, there would be water falling from the sky. Unfortunately for you, it's not raining, and there isn't water coming from the sky.
Okay. So you understand. So you understand hypotheticals. You understand that hypothetically, if it was raining, then there'd be water falling from the sky. But it doesn't seem to me that you understand that hypothetically, if there were guilty parties in the Epstein files who are still being investigated, then there would still be guilty parties in the Epstein files who haven't been convicted yet. I just don't.
In what way does that mean that Donald Trump's a pedophile?
So once again, I'm not going to move on until you answer this hypothetical.
This was the original question that you have literally spent 10 minutes trying to escape from, because the answer is you have zero proof and you just want him to be a pedophile so that he's not president anymore. You want him to resign. You want him to do bad things, catch him in bad things, and impeach him. That's what you guys want. All right. That's why you guys started calling him Taco Tuesday when he didn't end up nuking Iran. This is what you guys want. Threatening to commit
a war crime is still a war crime, just so you know. But I'm going to move back to my question, because you still haven't answered my question to my satisfaction. And I don't have conversations with people who can't track hypotheticals. You would rather have
him diddle kids than be president of the United States, and that's fucking disgusting.
Okay, so my question again is, hypothetically, if there are guilty parties in the Epstein files who are still being investigated, and that's why their names haven't been released, which is what you suggested when I brought up that there are obviously more guilty parties in the Epstein files, what you're then saying is that in that hypothetical situation, there are still guilty parties in the Epstein files. Do you recognize the obvious truth of that hypothetical?
Again, not going to answer any hypotheticals.
You're not going to answer any hypotheticals in a debate live.
Correct. Yeah, this is a debate live where, hey, guess what? Hypotheticals mean nothing.
No, hypotheticals mean a great deal in debate and critical reasoning. Like I said, not being able to track a hypothetical is a indication that you lack critical reasoning skills.
Again, you can have that opinion. I disagree with your opinion. And
all right. I'm gonna take a vote. Just chat. There's 118 of you in here. Just type the word either kick or keep, and we're gonna either kick and keep the guest. I want to know if the audience wants me to keep trying this, but I'm really not gonna let him go if he stays on the call. So just let me know. There's 2 kicks. Lots of kicks. Goodbye. Later, Josh. All right. Anyway, who said keep? Oh my goodness. Okay, wow. Anyway, Shifted Soul 5 has joined the request queue. I'm going to remind them that I would only like to talk to Trump supporters today. I'm going to remind them not to violate the TikTok terms of service because then I have to kick them. And I'm going to start the call by asking, how old are you, Shifted Soul 5?
Does former Trump supporter work?
Sorry, say that again.
Does former Trump supporter work?
You know what? I feel like
right wing.
I feel like this is becoming a like just us girls chat, which I'm fine with because I'm doing a shorter stream today, so I'll allow it. But how old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay, I believe you. I'm going to respond to something in the chat really quick, which is that Alley Cat says you'll definitely fit in with the debate bros. The first step is to be okay with fascism. Yeah, that's an argument where, like, again, I'm not okay with fascism. I'm pretty anti-fascism. If you think that I support fascism by giving fascists a platform, then, like, no, I just disagree with you about whether or not it's productive to fight fascism by platforming the types of people who believe in it. Anyway, that's a debate for another day. What do you want?
Well, fascism is like today used as anyone on the right who wants to use power, like anyone who's not a leftist who uses power. So
no, I wouldn't.
Not a really.
I wouldn't define it that way. I don't think it's.
That's in my perspective how it's used by leftists and by liberals.
I'm going to accuse you of feeling that way because you're on the receiving end of it, but I think it's quite obvious that what Republicans currently in power in this country are doing is really, really bad and rings, a familiar bell, one that we've seen with Hitler and Stalin and Mussolini. And if you understand your history well, it's very concerning what they're up to.
Come on. Okay, so do you know elite theory?
Elite theory?
Yeah.
No. What is that?
It's basically like a branch of the Italian school of realism where it says that a minority, like an organized minority, always governs over the unorganized majority. So if 100 people are organized well, they will always be able to govern over 1,000 people who are not organized at all. It's always 100 versus 1. And there will always be people that are more competent and more willing to govern. And that's why history is not a battle between different classes, but between different elite classes. So there's a ruling class in every system: democracy, monarchy, communism.
Okay. I would actually agree with the core of that sort of system where it's obviously politicians are going to on average be more powerful individuals than the average everyday person. So yeah, we do have a representative democracy where
not just politicians though. People in universities, in the media, the corporations, people who own capital, the reason why monarchies were overthrown was because the merchant elite, the new capital class that was emerging in the Industrial Revolution, got so much powerful, and they could use their money power and people power to influence.
I just know my audience
politics.
Too well to know. This is. I need to come up with a title for this particular response to the idea of Trump being fascistic or the Republican leadership currently being fascistic, because you bring up all these different points about different systems of government or history from Italy in the 30s, and what I really I almost just don't want to engage with it because I just want to correct you and say that when we call Trump a fascist, we're not talking about any of that shit, dude. We're talking about the fact that he oppresses the rights of most people. The fact that he doesn't like democracy, the fact that he wants to consolidate power in the government and disobey the Constitution. We're talking about that type of fascism, which is what FDR, most people mean when they refer to fascism.
Well, FDR did the same thing times 100, right? He had a full circulation of elites, and that's how you do it mostly. And I'm not saying it's bad. That's how you change things within a system. FDR was much more authoritarian. And after him, the meaning of the Constitution kind of lost its meaning. So I don't know, Trump. I think Trump.
I so don't want to spend time on my live discussing the history of FDR's presidency. It just doesn't seem relevant. But I also just cannot understand why you think that FDR was a more tyrannical leader than Trump.
Not tyrannical, more authoritarian. If Trump is 0.01, if 1.00 is total power.
Dude, you are making so little sense that there are usernames showing up in my chat that I have never seen before.
Okay. What I wanted to say is that Trump has been co-opted by the ruling class And all he's doing now is boiling the frog and thinking that things will change, making people think that things will change.
I think he is boiling the frog.
While he's barely deporting anybody. He's deporting 300K people a year. That's nothing. And people will think things are changing, right? His cult think he's changing a lot and doing all this stuff and being performative.
I used to have a neighbor. Wait. I just want to tell you something. I want to tell you. I want to push back and say that things are changing. I'm going to tell you something about my life that changed. I used to have a neighbor by the name of Alex Preddy, and I don't anymore. That changed.
Yeah, that's one person.
A whole human being.
Yeah, did the country change in any meaningful way? Not really.
Yeah, I'd say that it did. We learned exactly how little your Second Amendment right and First Amendment right is protected by this government, which is
not really. I mean, like if there's an insurgent, like leftist protest movement, and you have to deport hundreds of thousands of people, like there will be confrontations, obviously.
Yeah, I'm saying that those confrontations are bad, and the way that the feds behaved in that situation.
I can say my friend Charlie Kirk is still not here, and that's because of people calling moderate conservatives like him fascist, which you do.
Who killed Charlie Kirk? Was it the government?
No, it was a leftist who was emboldened by people like you.
Real bad. I actually just spent like 20 minutes condemning some leftists who committed some violence on Saturday. But anyway, we are talking about the actions of the federal government.
Moderate conservatives fascist. That's what is leading you to. Like conservatives, even from the
yes or no? Yes or no? I need to ask you a question, and I just want to make sure you're capable of tracking a conversation. Do you recognize that your example of Charlie Kirk, while politically relevant, because of course political violence is bad, and I classify his execution or his assassination as political violence, you do recognize that if the conversation is about what the federal government is doing, pointing out something bad that somebody who is not the federal government did doesn't really address the point about the federal government. Do you recognize that? Yes or no?
1%, 100%. I recognize that, but I also recognize
I don't understand why you brought it up.
There are pre-political institutions like media, universities, churches, Hollywood that are institutions that police ideas. And if you have these institutions in your hands, there's a lot you can do with them. For example, if Trump says no more critical race theory, for example, and an executive order, because his people are not in the federal bureaucracy in the educational institutions, they will not do what he wants. But all Obama has to do is write a colleague letter saying, okay, let men into women's bathrooms now. And they will all oblige.
What are we talking about? If you don't have
a cathedral in your hand,
what are we talking about? Are you just listing things you think? What is the topic of conversation right now?
What I'm trying to tell you is that politics isn't just elected official B, A, C. It's much more than that. And the left, as a political institution, incentivizes these things. And the right are basically being containment. That is like you cited
what I would
Alex
like
Preddy
to discuss.
As a change.
What I would like to discuss
didn't change America at all.
What I'm trying to argue is that the federal government is up to no good. Is that they're doing bad shit. Can we talk about that?
Yes, and this bad shit that you're referencing to isn't changing anything meaningful in the country.
You're just declaring that, but you're not arguing it. There's a huge movement around what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Obviously, I'm going to have a biased view on that because I live here. They're neighbors of mine. Were neighbors of mine. But
and see what happened though. See what happened though. A couple of Soros-funded protesters were enough to convince Trump to pull out of Minnesota, but he started a war in favor of a foreign country with no real justification or plan.
Dude,
so you can't really meaningfully say. I mean,
everything that you say sounds like the start of a new conversation. What the fuck are we talking about?
You mentioned Alex Preddy. Also, a new conversation. This is the context of what is happening.
I'm just trying to help the chat. The chat doesn't understand either.
Right-wing opposition when he does stuff like that. He's just containment for the regime. What is the difference between Trump and a neocon? Trump is literally pursuing neocon policies. Trump is a neocon. I mean,
okay.
Like, how is the GOP a right-wing party?
Government when men with masks and guns violating people's civil liberties is bad. Can we agree on that?
Of course.
Okay. I would argue that masked men from the government are violating civil liberties. Do you agree?
Nope.
Okay, I don't think you understand civil liberties then. In fact, I'm gonna do a little experiment here. Tennis Love says that they're a civil rights attorney. I'm gonna believe them. I'm gonna assume that they're over the age of 18 if the sound of their voice suggests
Like, how is Trump a fascist? How is the Republican Party a fascist when they're just liberal containment?
Allow me
Like,
to.
the
I just
GOP
brought somebody new up.
has been taken
manners?
over.
I don't know if you learned manners when you were a kid, but we just invited somebody new into
Maybe
the
you
call.
didn't.
I'm gonna say hello to them. Hello, Tennis Love. Is that your name? Is that what you want to go by?
Yes, that's fine. Hello.
Okay, you sound like an adult to me. You're a civil rights attorney?
Yes.
I'm just going to let you take the floor. You want to take this one? You ready? Is that okay?
Yes, I'd love to, and
Go for it.
I hope we can have a conversation. But you were doing a good job anyway. I think the thing is that what our host is talking about is he's talking about the government and the rights that we have as citizens. That the government is curtailing our rights, and we're talking about the Bill of Rights. We're talking about the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments. Are you familiar with those?
Not all of them.
Okay, that's okay. No problem. But okay, when we talk about, and I think we were touching on some of these subjects like ICE in Minnesota, right? And masked paramilitary, right? And people protesting. Would you agree that where citizens are unalived on the streets, that's something that you want to pay attention to?
Yeah. And I think it's a training problem. Like, it's horrible optics as well. So
Quick
Yeah,
interjection for Tennis Love, just so you know, I've got this at the ready if you want it at any point.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
just let me know. I can pull that up if you need it.
Yeah, and I can just sum those up because that's what I do. But
Of course,
I'm
it's just good.
gonna say-
It's good for the show, also, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with the 4th Amendment, okay, where people are being taken away. Okay, so if you, for example, what could I call? What's your name? What can I call you? That I'm talking to you.
is this relevant to the debate?
No, I just want to be able to address you, and
She's just exercising like decent manners, dude.
I'm just being polite.
Just talk to me about the issue.
Okay, I will. Okay,
Shifted Soul
fine.
5 it is.
That's fine. Okay, so if you're in your home and a government official, comes to your home and says, we suspect you of a crime, and they handcuff and they take you away, right? You've got a problem with that, right? Especially if you don't think you've committed a crime, right?
Of course not.
Right. So do you know, and you're a citizen, I'm going to assume you're a citizen of this country.
This is irrelevant to the conversation if I'm a citizen.
Yes, it's
if I'm not.
highly relevant to the conversation.
No, this is not the debate about me personally.
It's
No, but I'm
my
trying-
show. I decide what's relevant here, and I will just declare that it's relevant because I get to be the king of my
well,
little castle here.
I'll land my
doesn't become
plane.
relevant, though.
I'll land my plane, but
But you can say, let's say you're a citizen. Like, it doesn't make a difference.
okay, that's fine. A citizen, okay, and they come to your home, okay, and they handcuff you and they take you away, right? And they have to do what? They have to read you your rights, correct? Mm-hmm. Right, and that's the Miranda warnings, and that's part of the Constitution. Did you know that?
Sure.
Yeah, it's the 5th Amendment. And then, and the reason, and they have the right to take you, right? Because of the 4th Amendment. They have to have something called probable cause. And that's something the probable cause doctrine, that what that does is that prevents unreasonable search and seizure of your person, correct?
Of course.
Right. So you want to know that you're being afforded those rights. So they take you down to the station, right? And they put you, they're going to arraign you, and they give you the right to call an attorney, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have a right to counsel under the 6th Amendment, right? Mm-hmm. And then by 24 hours, you have to be something called arraigned, right? That means that you have to go before a judge, and that cop has to establish before a judge that they have something called probable cause to take you and to apprehend you and charge you with this crime. Do you agree with all of that?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So what's happening on the streets right now in many cities is that people are just being taken away. Okay.
And
so
what percentage
you
of these people are citizens?
It doesn't matter.
It does because under other administrations it was higher.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. You're talking to a civil rights attorney, and under the Constitution and under Supreme Court law, every human being who is within our borders has those rights.
And I'm saying citizens mistakenly taken is a lower percentage now than other administrations.
Sir, human beings taken. They don't have to be a citizen.
Yeah, well, they're not legally in the country.
But you don't understand. That doesn't matter for the purposes of the Constitution.
What percentage of people that are being deported are illegally being deported, even though they're illegal in the country?
That you're jumping the gun. You're jumping the gun because the question is.
You can't answer that.
No, but I'm not going to because it's irrelevant. Because under the Constitution, the question becomes, when are you allowed to be apprehended and taken away? If you want to ask how many people have been illegally deported, we can have that conversation. But the question is, when have your Fourth Amendment rights been violated? And that's what I'm trying to illustrate for you. Right? Well, every human being within our borders, when it comes to your freedom, and that's what the question here, when it comes to your freedom, a human being's freedom, not just a citizen, a human being inside our borders, you have those Fourth Amendment rights.
The problem is that Trump is
being taken away. Sorry,
the problem is that Trump is dipping his toes in that authoritarianism without actually changing anything. And I'm saying, if you're going to be an authoritarian, actually be an authoritarian and deport millions of people at a time. And if you're not going to be an authoritarian,
it's okay with you that he's an authoritarian?
Don't dip your toes
Is that what you're saying? Is it your testimony that Trump, it's okay to have an authoritarian as a president? Is that what you're telling the panel?
It's generally not to have an authoritarian. Okay, to have an authoritarian as a president, but when things get really, really bad, this is what always happens, inevitably happens, because Democratic majorities.
Get really bad. Can you define that?
You should read Carl Schmitt's criticism of liberalism. Democratic majorities.
The only document that I need to read to make an analysis, sir.
Democratic majorities.
The only document that I need to read and to make an analysis of what's going on our streets right now.
Democratic majorities. I'm trying to say something.
May I land my plane?
Democracy and liberalism is not necessarily the same thing. Democratic majorities can go up against processes.
Let her finish her point.
Because, wait, let me tell you something.
No, I'm in charge here. It's my call. You need to let her finish.
Is based on certain cultural
I don't like using the mute button. I might have to do it with you. I really don't like using the mute button. You're not allowed to speak right now. You're breaking the rules of the live by disobeying the host. Please let my panelist finish.
What I'm trying to explain is...
All right, I'm going to use the mute button. I don't use it very often. There we go.
So what I'm trying to say to you, the only document, okay, that I need, my clients who come to me, okay, over several decades now, okay, so just for your edification, I've been trying civil rights cases in New York in the state and federal courts for decades. Okay, so I have an understanding of the Constitution, and the only document in the case law attendant thereto that I need to be concerned with is the Constitution. Okay, not some guy who's commenting on political commentary.
The Constitution has no basis since like FDR. Like that's
what are you talking
all gone,
about?
Basically, that like the rule of law doesn't have much meaning in America since like FDR.
That's false. That's false. That's where you're mistaken. That's where you're mistaken. Okay, so let me go back to my original question. So if somebody comes to your home and they take you away, what are you relying on to protect yourself? What are you relying on? Are
he's not just searching people based on their homes. Like he's not going after anyone. He's going after illegal.
You said the Constitution is abolished. You said it's gone. So if somebody comes to your home, if someone comes to your home and takes you away or takes your loved one away, what are you going to rely on the rule of law for your freedom, or are you going to just say, "Oh, gee, okay, I'll go to prison"?
Well, it's not my loved one taken away, though. Here.
No. Because what you're speaking to is you live in this country and you appreciate your freedom, don't you?
Of course.
Right. So if you're going to sit here and say to all these people on this panel and this host that the Constitution is gone, then what you're saying is that your freedom is not important to you. Is that what you're telling these people?
It is important to me, but the Constitution doesn't have any validity anymore.
Okay, so what would you rely on?
Since the 1930s.
What do you rely on to protect your freedom?
It's more or less politically arbitrary.
That doesn't answer. That's
like
objection,
yes. It's
objection, Your Honor, not responsive.
But what the problem what you guys are doing.
I'm gonna boot you. I don't even. I love that the last word he got out of his mouth was the word wait. No. I'm gonna wrap up the live pretty soon here because I got some plans. But thanks for coming on. You really handled that one. I like as soon as that guy started talking, I felt the weight of the hangover I've been fighting through today because I partied last night. I was like, he started talking and I was just like, oh my God, there's a civil rights attorney that wants to talk to him. Thank goodness. I'm going to just check out for the rest of the live. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me up. And what do you do? You're a very, smart guy. Just listening to you for a while.
Due to the number of threats against my safety that I receive from Republicans, I don't talk about what my current jobs are.
Gotcha.
But I've got a long history of working on all sorts of stuff. I have a pretty strong educational background. I tutored a lot of subjects at my school. I've taught in a lot of different environments. I taught public speaking for about 6 years. Old school theater kid from New York is how I got that job. So I have some of the professional chops you would expect somebody who's good at this to have.
I love to see you young people up here because I'm old and I'm almost retired. I have a few more cases. My husband's also
I identify as old. I'm 30. I'm 30. I'm getting there.
You're 30? Oh, you're young. You're young.
Yeah, I know. I got lots of years left, hopefully.
But it was so much fun. Thanks for letting me cross-examine him.
No, absolutely. You got my follow because as soon as you got up, I was like, oh my God, she's competent enough at this that I can go to the bathroom. I'm going to leave. And then I turned up my speaker so I could hear you.
Do you come on kind of regularly?
So so it's the end of the stream, so it's a good time for me to give the commercial for myself, which is that I am making a push for consistency. I am trying to stream every day in April, and other than the 2 days I was banned for saying something I shouldn't have said by accident, TikTok TOS type stuff, I didn't actually say anything bad. I try to stream outside of Dean Withers hours. I failed at that today because today was too busy a day for me, but I usually stream between the hours of 9 and 12 in the morning Central Standard Time, or sometime in the evening after Dean Withers has gone offline. Sometimes very late at night. Sometimes I stream from like 11 p.m. to like 2 a.m. And that is a whole other wild west of different people.
It's a wild west.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm up, but at the times I've gone on in those hours, I feel like there's a lot of people who are not coherent.
Yeah,
if you will.
Yeah, a lot of intoxicated people. It's just a lot of children, obviously, and if I stream during school hours, there's way fewer kids calling in, which is great because I'm not here to talk to kids.
But I'll definitely come back up. I really enjoyed it, and it sounds like you have some followers. So
I gotta celebrate the fact this is going incredibly well. So thanks to everybody who's listening, everybody who's double tapping. I appreciate you so much. I'm sure I'll have it back up again soon.
Take care. Have a good night. Thanks.
Too.
Bye.
Man, I feel like when you play a video game, you get to upgrade your character along the way. You get you get a bigger sword and better armor and like a cool skin or like whatever stuff you get in a video game. And I feel like I'm like speed running this video game of becoming a debate host because like having Santana on Friday night was like, whoa, oh my God. I'm like doing the social networking thing. And then also, of course, just the actual success of the live, the number of viewers, the number of followers I'm getting everywhere. I am so close to my 10,000 followers on Instagram because I was at like 5,000 yesterday. I'm at like 7,500 right now because I have a video that's just like absolutely going crazy. The vods of these lives get posted on YouTube. Not all of them. I'm still kind of curating because I spend a lot of time just talking to the chat because I don't always have a caller. Where am I? 7,300 on Instagram. Yeah, go follow me on Instagram. Hit the link tree in my bio. Follow me on YouTube. I need more followers over there. Those things are free and they support the live. There's also not free ways to support the live that you can find, on TikTok or in the link tree in the bio. But I'm making a real push at doing this, a lot. I'd love to do this daily. I'd love to be doing the Dean Withers thing. And as a further pitch for myself, on the days where it is applicable, I do outside content. I live in Minneapolis and I attend the protests. I live stream from the protests. I make I get coverage of the protests. And on Saturday, I had to rescue a Turning Point USA correspondent from an angry mob because 3 people assaulted her, and that was really bad. And there was some crazy footage of it on my Instagram that you should go check out because, we should talk about it. We need to talk about the political violence that happens even when our side is in the wrong on it. That's important. There's a very, very important discussion. Yeah, if you saw that, it's me with my backpack and the leather jacket. The other guy with the leather jacket with the adult toy hanging out of his pants is my buddy Derek. I'm a little glad that I took the adult toy out of my pants before the fight broke out, so it's not in the footage. But he does much sillier content than me. Claudia just followed me on Instagram. I appreciate it. Yeah, I got the golden footage. So you might not see me in footage of the event because if you don't see me in footage of the fight, you're probably watching the footage that I filmed because I'm not super visible in most of my own footage that I take it like POV style at these events. So, yeah, I've got news networks kicking my door down to get rights to the footage. I'm telling most of them yes for free. Told Fox News to go fuck themselves. What a win. How fun that was. The producer from Fox who reached out to me lied to me. She told me that I should give her permission to use the footage on all their networks with credit because it would drive millions of people to come check out my Instagram. And my Instagram is Oskar Quentin Music because Oskar Quentin wasn't taken and I made the account because I'm a musician before I started doing all this activism stuff. And she said like, oh, this could drive millions of viewers to your music career. LOL. She added an LOL to it, and it's like, bitch, like what? Excuse me? Like, first of all, no, it won't. Like having my name Oskar Quentin in the corner of Fox News is not gonna like give me a music career. You are just lying to me to get what you want. How dishonest! And this was like her opening swing in the negotiation. Whatever her name is, I'm not gonna say it. It doesn't deserve to be said.